Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I hope this video finds you well. So if I were somebody who was just getting into niche perfumes, how would I spend $200 as a beginner? I'm gonna be making some recommendations in today's video, and I'm also gonna be telling you about 10 niche perfumes that I think everybody should know about, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin this video and I tell you about how I would personally spend $200 as a beginner, and I also give you some recommendations to hopefully create a list for you that you can check out eventually, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon, and of course, give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. Now, I'm actually at Perfumology in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I like doing these on location videos because it gives me a lot of toys to play around with. And so there are hundreds of perfumes in here. So of course, if you do have the opportunity to visit them in person, I'm gonna leave all of the information down below so that you can check them out. Really great family-run operation, very friendly, very amiable, and a lot of fragrances to explore. So when it comes to spending $200 as a beginner, my personal recommendation would be to sample, and then sample some more. When I first started getting headfirst into this hobby about 10 years ago, that's precisely what I did. And I'm so glad that I did because there are so many different olfactory genres to explore. And initially, you might not know 100% the types of fragrances that you're gonna be into. You might be into the aromatics, you might be into the fougères, you might be into the gourmands. And as I sort of started smelling a little bit of everything, I realized that I personally have an appreciation for a little bit of everything, but there are certain olfactive families, if you will, that I find myself gravitating towards. And so I know with a lot of samples that you can purchase here, they're in the vein of $8, $10. Of course, if it's one of the more expensive fragrances, because some of these bottles are like $500, $600, you might find yourself paying in the vein of like $15 for a sample, but they're all really generously sized, and of course Nier does include samples with purchases. And so just another thing to keep in mind, that when you do purchase a fragrance, you're also going to receive samples. And so that's a really nice gesture that a lot of other brands don't do, to be honest. They always make you pay for their samples. So with that being said, I would highly recommend sampling fragrances to start with. But let me go ahead and dive into some recommendations of fragrances that I think every beginner and every niche lover should know about. The first one I want to talk about is actually a fragrance by Perfumology, and this one is called Clutch. Perfumology has a lot of great fragrances, whether we're talking about Lima or we're talking about Surute or Grange or even Bliss, which is a beautiful plum-based fragrance. But my personal favorite is Clutch because this is one that caters to my personal taste the most. It's kind of like this smoky vanilla composed by Justin Federico. It also has a little bit of elemi resin in the opening, which is a really unique type of a resin note. There's just enough of that smoke to give it that air of mysteriousness, but the vanilla is very smooth and creamy, and combining it with the resins is just this beautiful ambery balsamic effect. I personally love this one so much. Definitely sample this if you have the opportunity to do so. And this is actually one of the more affordable fragrances on this list, and so you're not necessarily going to be breaking the bank if you just decide to purchase the bottle as opposed to sampling it. Now, of course, you might hear this fragrance being spoken about quite a bit. This one by Eccentric Molecules is called Molecule 01 or Molecule 01. So this contains a singular note, which is ISO-E Super. This is composed by perfumer Geze Schoen. I've actually done an interview with him on my channel, so I'm going to leave a link to that video up here if you're interested. But this fragrance contains a singular note called ISO-E Super that is said to have like a pheromone-like effect. Everybody in the fragrance community knows about Molecule 01, so I think you should know about it too if you don't already. It has this pheromone-like effect where at times it smells like musk, at times it smells like vetiver, at times it smells like cedarwood, and it does end up being like a fragrance primer for me. So I like to do a few sprays, I'll wait a minute, and then I'll do a top coat of whatever scent of the day I have for that particular day. Not only does it increase the complement factor for me, it actually also increases the longevity of my fragrance. So the next fragrance that I think everybody should try, especially if you're just getting into niche perfumes, is 100% Latent by Parfums de Marly. Now, of course, this one, you know about the apple, the vanilla, there's lavender in here as well, a little bit bit of geranium, if I'm not mistaken, but very classy, masculine, while also giving off a bit of that contemporary vibe. And so I'm really enjoying this one of my favorites, and I think it's the bestseller from the brand on the men's side of things. Of course, we also have a bestseller on the women's side, and this one is the original Delina. Now there's actually three. You have Delina, Delina Exclusive, which has a really nice vanilla note in the base. You also have Delina La Rosée, which is a bit fresher, brighter. It has a bit of like an earthy vegetal quality about it. Definitely citrus driven, but the original Delina, beautiful composition by Quentin Biche. This one has the rose, the peony, and also lychee, which is an unconventional fruity note. One of the more popular fragrances from any niche brand, not just Parfum de Marly. And then of course we have a favorite of mine. This is one that I've been recommending for a long time, although I will admit I actually prefer to wear this in the summertime. By BDK Parfum, this is Citrus Riviera. Now I think their most popular fragrance is actually Rouge Smoking, which is this really nice vanilla cherry type of a fragrance. Kind of reminds me of Spice Bomb blended with Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. This one on the other hand, very bright, citrusy and aromatic. Kind of reminds me of Mandarino di Amalfi by Tom Ford. I would highly recommend this one if you're looking for something that's a bit on the fresher side of things. Now, speaking of citrus, we also have Cap d'Antibes by Véronique Gabai. But the thing that makes this one unique is it actually combines the citrus with pine. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit earthier, something that's completely gender neutral, that has enough of that citrusy quality, but also takes things in an earthy direction, I would definitely recommend Cap d'Antibes. And then of course, one of the most popular brands, and it's quite near impossible to recommend one from this brand because there are so many. More Than Words, Erba Pura, Neo is one of my personal favorites, even Accento. But of course, I'm gonna recommend Alexandria 2 by Xerjoff. Now the tester bottles actually have the notes conveniently listed on the back. So you have apple, cinnamon, rosewood, lavender, cedar, lily, Bulgarian rose, amber, sandalwood, musk, vanilla, and 2 types of oud ingredients. So this one is very bright, spicy. You have that apple freshness in the opening, but you have enough of that agarwood base to really extend the longevity of the fragrance. This one gets you really good performance. I'm personally getting like 10 to 12 hours on my skin. The same thing can be said about the other Alexandria fragrances, including Alexandria Orientale, but I personally love this one. Definitely one of the more unique fragrances from the brand. And that's to say that, you know, the brand does put out a lot of really unique fragrances where I haven't smelled any counterparts or alternatives on the market. Of course, very similar to the Molecule 01 that I recommended earlier, we have Not a Perfume by Juliet Has a Gun. So this is also a singular perfume note, not ISOE Super, but this has Cetilox. So this one can also smell a little fresh, a little musky. It has a very unique character to it. Same recommendations that I made with ISOE Super from Molecule 01 can be made with this. You can use this as an underbody, so you can put your top coat perfume right on top of it a few minutes later. It extends the longevity of your fragrance, also increases the complement factor, in my opinion. Of course, a fragrance that every fragrance beginner, if you will, should know about is Elysium by Roja Parfum. Of course, this is a very, very popular niche brand. You have Creation E, you have Sweetie Oud, you have so many great ones. But Elysium is this ambergris, grapefruit, and vetiver fragrance. So it's citrusy, it's woodsy, it's earthy, and it's incredibly easy to wear. Love wearing this one all times of the year, although I think a lot of people would argue that this one works best in the summertime just because of how fresh it is. And another fragrance that you can find at Perfumology that I think everybody should try is Blue Agave by Precious Liquid. The perfumer for this is also the founder of the company, Richard Herpin. He is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, incredibly passionate about what he does. He's also composed Oud Wood by Tom Ford, so you're probably familiar with that private blend fragrance. This one has the agave, it has a lime, it has a lot of fresh characteristics about it, and it's very classy, very elegant, very contemporary, while also giving off a very polished vibe. Blue Agave is definitely one of my favorites, and this brand has a lot of good stuff. They have a rose offering, a vanilla offering, if I'm remembering correctly, but this one definitely deserves all of the praise that it's receiving. So there you have it, ladies and gents. Thank you for watching this video. That's how I would spend $200 as a beginner, and these are 10 niche recommendations that I think every fragrance beginner should know about. If you took something of value from this video, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell so that you can stay notified notified on new releases and new uploads on my channel. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. It would really mean a lot to me. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.